Hi, I'm Fern with my girlfriend's quilt shop, and today we are going to learn about the rope bowls by Kimberbell. They've made it so easy to do and to customize the bowl that you want to make and make it individualized to you. In their instructions on page 4, they give you a breakdown of your design, your hoop size, the shape that you want to do, the height, how you want to finish your bowl, where you want your decoration to fall on the bowl. Just, you can go through each of those steps and individualize it. And you want to be creative, make it your own. So first of all, we're going to choose our design that's going to go in the bottom, and that's your embroidery design. And you have a small and a large design. I believe it's 5x7 and 6x10 hoop. I've chosen one, I've stitched it out, and I'm going to show you like the easy way to turn it. Now I chose a small 5x7 because it's harder to turn. I've used my pinking shears to cut around the edge, and the reason I've used pinking shears is because I don't want to take the time to go back and clip all of those corners. So the pinking shears is a great tool to use for that. So you're going to want to start on the edge right at the opening and push just that edge in and work your way around. And just pop it through. There you go. So at this point, I'd probably use my R&K turning tool and push those edges out to give them a nice sharp edge. I happen to have some really good nails, so I'm going to use my nails. And that gives you a nice crisp edge there. So now we need to do the other side. I'm going to use the same process right along the edge there and just work it through. You can also at this point set those edges nicely with the iron, with a hot iron there, and you have your nice firm bottom. Now what makes this so nice and firm and taut is using the Kimberbell shape form. You're going to use 2 pieces of that. When you follow the instructions on the embroidery, it will tell you to use 2 pieces. But I found that the shape form interfacing, it's pliable to turn, but it's really firm and gives it a really nice look when you're doing your bowl. We have our base. Now we're going to add the rope. To start the rope, you have an inside part and an outside, kind of like a sleeve. And you're just going to pull this back until you can see the inner side of the rope. And then just with your fingers, just pull that back. And you're going to get rid of this inside part. Just cut that off and then pull it back up. And that leaves you a nice flat piece of rope. The next step is really important, and that's to use fray check. Fray check gives you, it's not a glue, but it gives you a good, kind of stiffens the ends of that rope. It's not sticky at all, but you just kind of work it into the ends there. And then you'll see later when it dries, it's a little stiff, and it just keeps it from fraying. Thus the name fray check. All right. So to start our rope bowl, we're going to, you break it down into 4 parts. You've got your top, your bottom, your right, and your left. And you go by the back side by that envelope. So I've got my right side here. I'm going to start my rope, you always start it on the right side. Because it's nice and flat, you can push it in there. When you flip it over, that's nice and flat in the back and nice and smooth on the front. And then we'll be ready to sew right along there. Okay, so we've come over to the machine. A couple things at your machine that you want to make sure. You're going to be on a zigzag stitch. Your width is going to be 3 to 3.5, and your length is going to be 4 to 4.5. So I've chosen 3.5 width and a 4 length. So I've got my zigzag set up. Everything's tucked in back here. Kimberbell instructions tell you to use a little hot glue to hold that in. You can do that. I found that it's held just fine without it so far. So I'm just going to start, and every time you start and stop, you want to make sure that you do back stitch to hold everything in place. I'm just going to go nice and slow, catch that back in there. Now I'm going to keep the center of either my two ropes or my base and my rope right in the middle of my foot. You can use an open toe foot. This one has a see-through, so I'm comfortable with that. And I'm just going to zigzag, catching both rope and the base. And I'm just kind of holding it there and guiding it through. We're going to get down back to the beginning of where we started. Now here, because it bends out, I'm going to kind of back my hand back a little bit and just push the rope and hold it into place. So right here, I'm just pushing it so it's nice and tight up in that groove. And I'm just going to slowly sew out. So now at this point, I can go around a couple of times flat, and that will give me a nice flat base. Or at this point, I think I'm going to tilt my base and start the curve of my bowl. And again, it's just important to hold it at an angle as it goes around. You'll find this is very soothing. Now I cut my rope because I wanted to show you how to put two ropes together. So you can see I'm getting to the end of my rope here. So I've seen people try and push the ends together, or push one end into the other end, because we've cleaned out the inner rope. So I'm just going to tuck this underneath. And any little threads that are hanging off are easy to clip. Just going to press those together, let them kind of blend in. Just going to keep that rope together. So the next time it goes around, any rope that is not smooth is going to catch. It's easy if you throw your rope on the floor. It gives it time to kind of unwind. So if you find that you've missed a spot where it didn't catch, when you're done, you can go back and just re-sew that spot. So we're coming back to where we added our rope. So in Kimberbell's instructions, it tells you like how many rows to go up before you add your fabric, or if you've decided to add fabric at the top, it'll tell you how many rows to go for what size you want. So let's go ahead and show you how to add the fabric. So when you do a smaller medium, you're going to cut 2 strips width of fabric, and you're going to sew those together. You're going to iron 1/4 inch, so you have a 1 1/4 inch or 1 1/2 inch piece of fabric, and you're going to fold it over 1/4 inch. So take it behind and just kind of go up into the groove where you stopped stitching and fold it down and just wrap it underneath. Just kind of, and then at this point where I've got my fabric where I want it, I want to start stitching and catch that fabric so I can use my machine to hold the fabric tight. Okay, so now I've got it in there. So I'm going to use my machine to hold it for me, and I'm just going to wrap it around a few times. It feels like it's not going to lay flat. Don't get frustrated. After you've wrapped it around a few times, you can go back. Just kind of take your hand and just kind of run it up and down. That motion will just kind of tighten that fabric. It will smooth it out, and the fabric will like start to sit in there. Go down a little further. I'll take my binding clips, and once I go down a little ways, I'll just clip it, and then I can work the next section. And I will go and wrap the entire sections. So if I have 2 strips, if I'm doing a small bowl, I'll have 2 strips of fabric that are sewn together. So we're talking 84 inches, and I'll just continue to wrap that until I get to the end. I'm just using my clips to hold everything in place. Then I'll just go back and I can continue sewing. And I'm just take your clips off as you go. Okay, show you how that looks. So there you've got your fabric on there. As you keep going up, building up, it's going to just continue to wrap around there. Still holding your bowl at an angle, so you have that curve in your bowl. Okay, so now we have our rope bowl. We have to decide on how to finish it. Kimberbell's embellishments. Oh my gosh, they are so adorable. You've got the buttons, and they're woodish looking, but they're nice plastic. You've got the leather to make the little tags. They give you a cut stitch around here so you know exactly where to cut. The little tassels and the beads. They are so cute. And again, it's however you want to finish it, it's your creativity that makes the bowl yours. So on this one, I've decided I did the little loop. And so what I did is I sewed the loop together. So it's just kind of hanging off here in a big old scroll. And so it's just going to be sewn together like this. And then I hot glued it to my bowl and sewed my button on. Added a tassel. This one here, I did a little loop, added a tassel to it, and of course the leather tag. And again, that has the fabric in the center. This medium size, the tag, just a simple knot. Added the button and the tassel. So they give you so many options on how to finish them. Handles are really easy to add. On the handles, you're going to measure. Again, you're going from your 2 sides, your right and left, and you're going to measure. It gives you, for a medium size or a small medium size bowl, I believe it's 4.5 inches from your center mark. And if you can see, I've left my little marks on my bowl. Those will just iron off for the heat, just the friction pen. And then you just kind of push it up. So if I was doing handles, I would have my measurement. I would stop sewing here, back stitch, push up my fabric, and it gives you the measurement on how far to go. Then I'm going to start sewing right here, back stitch, go around, and do the same thing on the other side. It gives you your handles on both sides. Go around, and you're just going to follow your handle around. Kimberbell makes the instructions so simple. They're easy to follow. And I think the most important part of doing the rope bowls is making it your own. Add your own creativity. They have just been addicting. They're so fun to make. So I hope you enjoy them. Be creative. Show us. Share with us and show us at Girlfriends what you're making. And we'd love to see you again.